All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite dark sorcerer here. And today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about some perceptions of the priesthood. This is things that have been popping up lately that I think a lot of people are taking advantage of. And this really needs to be cleared up. So, the first thing that you need to understand about the priesthood is it is an honored stature. Okay. It is not something that you take for granted. Okay. It is not a rich quick type path. Okay. And I'm not talking monetary type things when it comes to the priesthood. No. I'm talking about the quickest way to hell or the quickest way to heaven or wherever the hell the path that you follow is. Okay. So I thought I'd take a moment and kind of discuss with you something um, about this because of the fact that you see a lot of people going out and they're going to places like the Universal Life Monastery or the American Fellowship, or they're starting their own religious organization and then just, taking these rookies and they're giving them these statues of priesthood of various different degrees. And it's like, it's not how it works. Okay. This is why when somebody comes across a real priest, they know the difference between and the fake, the wannabes. Okay. I've seen a lot of people come into this path of Satanism or even necromancy for that matter. I mean, like I've said in the past videos, I've only been a necromancer now full time for a couple of years, but I've been a traditional Satanist for 32. So that should tell you something. Now, when we go into some of the Caribbean traditions, like say Santa Morte, no, not Santa Morte, but let's go with Brujeria, or let's go with Santeria or Pedo Mayumbi or Monte. When you are initiated into these traditions, you go in as a Polero, okay, a Polero. And that's a male variation of that. And I'm going to speak of a male tradition here first because of the fact that these traditions are mostly male. But don't get me wrong, in Santeria, you still have the female priestesses, just like you would in Voodoo. Okay? Now, when you get into Pelomyambi, you find the house that you want to get into, the type of magic that you want to practice. Be it, say for example, black magic, fetishes, whatever. Okay, white magic, gray magic, whatever. Okay, and there's quite a few different houses within Palo Mayumbi, not just Monty itself. So these traditions, you have to go through an initiation process. You have to go through what is known as the scratching process. This normally takes up to roughly, this takes hours. Okay, that's all you need to know is it takes hours. It could take anywhere, depending on who's residing over it, it could take anywhere between 3 to 6 hours. Okay, it's very exhausting because it's about discipline, it's about commitment and dedication to that path of being a priest or priestess. This type of practice has been done in just about every culture worldwide. If we go back to the priesthood of Anubis or the Shem priesthood, we see where there's different levels of priests. Okay. You have those that deal with the public, those who's responsible for the temple. You have those that, excuse me, those who are responsible for constant prayer and worship. You have those responsible for the ceremonies and the rituals. Okay, just like you have those who are the monks that are responsible for feeding the brothers and the sisters of that parish. Okay, so there, that should tell you that there's different levels, but it's a path and a journey of dedication and commitment. It's not something where you come in and you read a book on, say, the Satanic Bible, and all of a sudden, hey, I'm going to dub myself a priest. I'm going to dub myself a, you know, a priestess or whatever within Satanism. No, it does not work like that. You'd have to be a living, active practitioner for at least 10 years, 7 to 10 years before you even get to move up into an honored stature like that. Okay. It takes at least 25, about 20 years, if not 25 years, before you're even able to move up into the higher, the hierarchy of, say, one of these organizations. You literally have to work your ass off to get to where you are. It's not something that's just given to you. So I mean, you get a lot of these individuals. I've been seeing more and more on social media that these individuals are coming in, and then they just go out and get ordained, and it's like, oh yes, I can marry people now, I can do this, I can do that. Really, do you have a firm foundation underneath you to where you understand the purpose of a funerary rite? How about a hand fasting rite? How about just a typical ceremony, like, say, the Black Mass? Okay, just to name a couple. How about personalized rituals? Okay, do you have an understanding about the difference between the outer temple and the inner temple? Okay, the outer sanctum, the inner sanctum. Okay, do you even understand the purpose behind a circle of empowerment? The tools that you use, you know, do you even have an understanding of phylacteries? You know what I'm saying? Warding, seals, reversals, things that deal with protecting your temple and your flock. Okay, and I'm kind of speaking as a JCI minister at this point. And trust me, I'm no Christian. Um, if you've seen my videos, you understand. Now, there are two aspects of ministry. You have those who go to school for years to become a clergyman. You start at the low end of the totem pole, okay? But there's another section. You could actually go to a church and learn from another minister, okay? Someone who's a pastor, somebody who is a bishop, somebody who's a reverend, okay? Somebody who's legally ordained that can help you become ordained through lessons and teaching. So those are two aspects of ministry right there, of how you can become ordained. Or you can do what everybody else does and just go to, like, the American Civil Liberties Union, or the only recognized ministry within the United States government, which is the American Fellowship. Okay. Now, I've been officially ordained now for about 10 years. Okay. I got ordained years ago. And this, I used to think it was fun and games until you really settle in, and then you realize that you are responsible for what you do in the public. Okay. If you're marrying somebody, if you're doing a funerary rite, you are responsible if anything goes airy. Okay. If anything goes wrong, you are responsible for the information that you put out. Okay. So there's a lot of responsibility with running a parish, with running a temple or an order, even if you're a pagan or Wiccan and you have your own coven. Okay, if you are the priest or priestess of that coven, you are responsible for the information being distributed to your flock, to your fellow covens. Okay, because all eyes are on you. Okay, but a lot of individuals think it's fun games. There's a lot more to it. There's responsibilities. You have to go out and you got to deal with the public. You got to go into prisons, jails, um, go into hospitals, and you got to do what is known as pasture calls. Okay, these are where you are summoned to an organization such as a hospital, a prison, a state establishment to perform certain rites and rituals. It could be last rites. It could be, somebody's dying or somebody just wants to confess. Either way, you know, you've got that responsibility to go in and do that because you've been called. And it comes down to the particular religion that you practice. Now, one of the things that I recommend to those who are serious about the priesthood or is to become an ordained multi-faith minister because there's more of a calling there than there is by an individual sect. Okay. I've studied and practiced quite a few religions over the years, and this has really come in handy. I've had people that's asked me to bless them in the name of Satan. I've had people come to me and say, "Hey, can you pray over, my dog or my my mother, my father, my sister, my brother, because they're Christians, but they're also Native Americans." So I mean, there's different things you can do as an ordained minister. And it comes down to the legal laws because you're also binded by the legal laws, not just the spiritual laws. And you got to remember that the spiritual law does not cohabit with the mundane physical laws. But you, as a minister and an ambassador between the spirits and the mundane, you are responsible for both parties. Okay? You, on one hand, answer to the spirits, to the gods. But on the other hand, you have to answer to the public. And most importantly, to your coven, your temple, your church. Okay? Those are the those are that's just another aspect of ministry that most do not comprehend. All right. So one of the things that I recommend to people is when you become interested in the ministry, I would recommend studying what the ministry is. Why is it that you want to become an ordained minister? Why is it that you want to get into ministry? What is it about it that attracts you to it? Okay. And is this just a gimmick for you? Is it just about that title of importance? Or is it an actual lifetime commitment? Okay. A lifetime commitment. Because that's what the priesthood is. It is a dedicated spiritual journey, committed. Okay. When you do your rituals, I always tell my apprentices, what you put into it is what you get out of it. Okay? It's what you get out of it. So I want you to think about this long and hard because this is not fun and games. When you decide that you want to get into the ministry, and you want to move up into the hierarchy, a witch, a warlock, a bruja, a bruo, a brua, a core, a caplata, hangan, membo, papa mamba. It literally comes down to the titles in the religion that you're into. Okay. And if you're into the African Caribbean traditions, these systems are widely influenced by Catholic perspectives, not just the mainstream JCI. Okay. So you have to be well versed not only in the voodoo practices, the seven principalities of spiritualism in Africa, but you also have to be as a priest or priestess within Buddha. Okay. Keep that in mind. Even the Druids were considered to be monks, spiritual monks. Look at the Shem priests of Africa. Look at the Knights of Templar. They were warrior monks, highly religious, but highly skilled in combat, just like the Hashishin. Okay. Now, over the years, everything's gone JCI. Okay. It wasn't until recently that all religions are respected and protected by the United States government here in the United States. This was a part of the first the first amendment within the Constitution. Okay, and it's interesting to see the legal structures of how they've changed over the years. You look at the Constitution and you look up what makes up a protected religion. You have a foundation, place to worship, basically. Do you have followers? Do you have um, doctrine? Okay, the Satanic Scriptures, the Satanic Bible, the Wiccan Bible, the Witches Bible. Okay, not just the JCI or anything of that. Your basic grimoire is considered to be doctrine. Okay, but you've also got to remember that over time things change, things are redefined. You look at the 1969 civil or 1967 Civil Rights Act. Okay, titles VI and VII. Okay, then go to 2006, 2000 was it 12? I think it was like 2011 area, and then again underneath Obama, and then Trump on top of that. So they've really redefined this stuff, and they keep doing it every so often. So you got to keep up on the laws as well. Okay, and one of the other areas that I want to talk about real fast is if you decide that you want to go to a priest and you ask a priest or a priestess for advice, spiritual advice, even if you go to them as a client, okay, I want you to keep this in mind. Do you really want that information? Do you really want that wisdom? And are you going to follow it? Okay, I've had clients where I've done cartomancy okay, for them. And I told them point blank, it's not going to work. They've gone to other priests and priestesses. They've told them the same thing. It's not going to work. Move on. Stop obsessing. It's going to leave you literally hanging. Okay? But if you're not willing to take and heed that advice, what's the point of going to a clergyman or a clergy woman, a priest or priestess? You see what I mean? These are serious topics. Being in the priesthood is no fun and games. You have to be very spiritual. You have to know your shit, and you've got to be able to back it up. You take black magic, sorcery, for example. It's about power, but it's also about knowledge. What makes you think the priesthood isn't the same? One of the traditions that I practice and currently practice is the fact that there are some things I kind of like the structure of it. When you get interested in the clergy, you let your elder know, and then you a year later you're you become a junior priest or priest, and it's kind of like a tradition of being ordained by other ministers, and that's basically what religion is. You are being ordained by other clergy within your tradition. There is no white min. You can be a white priest, white light priest, priestess, like say JCI, Judo Christian institution wise, or you can be a black adept. Okay. Now, what's the point of being in the middle, playing both ends of the stick? You're either one or the other. Okay. Even though the gray area is, in my opinion, the same as Raymond Buck. Okay. When he described what a warlock is. A warlock is a modern day illusionist or sleight of hand tricks type thing, and can heal you or destroy you depending on his or her nature, their moods. Okay. Now, what's interesting to note is that when you get into a tradition, I want you to think about this because if you're not ready to go full on and make it a commitment, don't do it. Okay. Because of the fact that I've been going more and more spiritual. The things of the mundane world are, well, in my opinion, are way too easy for me. There's no challenge anymore. There's nothing here that interests me. So I've been going further and further into spiritualism. This is something that you need to decide for yourself. Palo Mayumbi is a tradition that is surrounding personal gain, just like black magic, dark sorcery. It is about personal gain. It is about power. It's about knowledge. But when that gets boring, go into Kimbiza, go into Palo Monte. These are spiritual, highly spiritual traditions. And they'll take you to new levels, just like Satanism. Get into the hierarchy. Start working with the demonic who are recognized as priests within demonology. There are numerous ones throughout the grimoires, but it's up to you on what type of priest or priestess do you want to be. Do you want to be one that educates others in the truth through actual practice, experiences of both ritual and ceremony? How about your own studies throughout history, mythology, folklore? Okay. Or do you want to be one of those fakes who think it's a game and just goes out and goes, look at me, ego, popularity, all about numbers. It's all about numbers with a lot of these kids today. Who has the most subscriptions? Who's got the most followers? Who's got the most muda, money? Who's got the most amount of accounts? That's not the priesthood. That's just neophytes and acolytes who haven't learned to get out of their own way. They haven't discerned what they want in life and who they want to be. But like I said, that is up to you. All right? Have a good day. And until next time.